Hello and welcome if you're new to my channel, and if you're a subscriber, a warm welcome back. This video is part of a two-part series where I will be talking about luxury malls in South Africa. The malls are located within the province of Gauteng. Two of the malls are in Johannesburg, and then the third mall is in Midrand. The first video I will focus on one of the malls in Johannesburg. It's in a place called Hyde Park, and it's called Hyde Park Corner. And then the second video I'll focus on the other mall in Johannesburg, Sandton City, together with Mall of Africa in the Midrand. With both videos, I'll talk about the look and feel of the malls, as well as zoning in on a few noteworthy brands. I'm Anesu Sagonda, and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the finer things, whether you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying quality from the get-go, or you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, or you're into luxury but you want to focus more on quality under the radar brands, then my content is geared towards you. Before I kick off, I have a small handful of points I'd like to make very quickly to give context to this video. Firstly, the African continent, as most people know, is incredibly resource rich. It's a continent with an abundance of natural resources, which means there's a lot of wealth sloshing around Africa. Granted, it's sloshing around the hands of a very small minority of people, but that wealth, that money, is trickling down the levels, the layers. But as a whole, African people are incredibly entrepreneurial, they're resourceful, they're proactive, and they will go out and make opportunities and make money. And what's happened in recent times is the internet has opened up the world to anyone and everyone for the taking. And people, whether they're in Africa or anywhere else in the world, are seeing a lot of things, good things, which they are liking and they want, and some are able to access and some are not able to access. But regardless, brands are starting to appreciate the level of wealth on the African continent, and they're actively starting to trade and open stores and concessions on the African continent to reach the consumer. Looking specifically at South Africa, that I'm going to be focused on in this video. South Africa is what is called a developing economy. A developed economy, think of countries such as the United Kingdom, United States, France, Germany, for example. They are countries that are considered fairly stable and functional in terms of their governments, stable economies, they have robust infrastructure, comprehensive health and social services, high literacy, high life expectancy, high per capita, for example. Whereas the less developed, the developing economies, think for example Cambodia, Afghanistan, Zimbabwe, Zambia, South Africa, for example, they have some of the variables I mentioned earlier, the infrastructure, health and social services, for example, but to a lower degree. But if you look at South Africa specifically, South Africa is, depending on which index or which data you look at, I'm going to focus on what's called the Human Development Index. It looks at life expectancy, per capita income, and also a literacy rate as well. South Africa is in the top quartile of development when it comes to African countries. It's one of the most developed African economies. And what that means in practical terms is South Africa has solid infrastructure in place. Look at the hospitality sector, the hotels, the restaurants, an abundance of very good hotels and restaurants, and it also has the shopping malls and centers. And what you'll find is a lot of brands, when they're coming into Africa for the first time, Western brands, they will typically use South Africa as a gateway. Some do consider Kenya and Nigeria, but South Africa is typically the gateway into Africa. And what I've also noticed is over the last, going back 15, 20 years ago, when I used to go home on holiday, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and then I would most recently go to Kenya. And going back just 10 years, I remember being in Kenya for the first time and seeing some of their malls and noticing that brands in all three countries would typically send end of season stuff or stuff that had been at an outlet and nobody had bought it. It was stuff that was way out of season. Some of it was even dirty, torn and tatty. It just wasn't the nice stuff that was sent to Africa. But that's something I've started to notice has changed. It's changing dramatically. Wherever I go, whether it's Kenya, Zimbabwe, South Africa, you are seeing current stock, trendy stuff, seasonal stuff, stuff that is mainstream, stuff that people look at and see on social media and think, oh, I really like it. You are seeing it on the African continent. So brands are starting to appreciate the level of wealth, the buying power, and they typically use South Africa because it has an infrastructure in place as a gateway into the African continent, to the African consumer. Hyde Park Corner Mall is located right next to the suburb of Hyde Park. Hyde Park, together with Westcliff and Sandhurst, are the most affluent parts of Johannesburg. Westcliff is more your old money, your very old money actually. And Sandhurst and Hyde Park are more your new money, and in that it's money from the last 30 years or so. The mall itself is a fairly small mall, especially in comparison to Sandton City, which is massive, very different demographic to Sandton City in that Hyde Park Corner Mall is frequented more by your elite, the wealthiest people in Johannesburg, in the country. It's incredibly low-key in that it's a small mall. The type of brands in the mall is very different to Sandton City. They have an abundance of fantastic restaurants, coffee shops, cafes. They have art galleries, fashion stores. There's also an abundance of your jewelers and also your watch retailers. A lot of security around all the malls in South Africa, whether it's Hyde Park, Sandton City, or Mall of Africa. So it was a little difficult to film outside, out and about in the mall, because security was always stopping me. But within the stores, I was able to film and also put together photographs that I have. So that should hopefully give you a good idea. Hyde Park Corner Mall is also very much a destination mall. It tends to be more your older people who go there. You don't get a lot of young people. And I say destination in that people will dress up to go to Hyde Park Mall. They will go there to have lunch with someone and then go into the galleries or do a bit of shopping. It's also very much your under the radar brands. I like the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, South Africa is now becoming incredibly discerning in terms of just the range of brands that are there, the consumers, what they like, what they want, what they're buying. And so with 2A, distinct difference in terms of the brands you find in Hyde Park Corner Mall versus Sandton City. Hyde Park, as I've mentioned, is very much under the radar. A number of stores really stood out. Hyde Park Corner Mall is legendary for two stores, 2A and also Apsley House. They are owned by the same owner. Well, legendary in my eyes, because going back about 10 years ago when I first started going there, I would tend to go to those two stores because they're the ones who would stock the brands I liked, the under the radar brands. And if anything, they tended to have the only good designer selection in South Africa at that time. 2A is more your fashion brands. So think of, for example, Jill Sander, one of my favorites. You have pieces from Oscar de la Renta, you have Alaya in there, you have Valentino in there. And it's all a carefully curated selection of items chosen by the owner. So she doesn't necessarily buy the entire collection from the season, but she'll choose pieces that are interesting for the South African market. She knows people who potentially would like the particular style, the particular design, for example. And then she's also got Apsley House, which is focused on homeware. Homeware at the very top end. So you have in there Loro Piana Home, you have Etra Home, you have Ralph Lauren linen in there as well. Sire Trudon candles, Diptyque, if I remember correctly. And then you also have Hermes. You have their dinnerware, and you also have Saint Louis Crystal in there, and a number of other brands. But those are the ones that really stood out. I'd have loved to have taken more visuals in there, but I wasn't allowed. The only brand I felt was missing there is Puifoka from Hermes. That would have just completed the whole homeware from Hermes. You'd have had their dinnerware, you'd have had Saint Louis glassware, and then you'd have also had Puifoka for the cutlery. But there was also another store, there still is another store, they're called the Wish Collection, and they also have homeware. So they have a good selection of frette, the bed linen, and some of the dressing gowns, nightwear, for example. They also have in there Baccarat and also Christoffel. That's why I think Puifoka would be a great addition to that whole mix as well. And then you also have a number of other stores. You have watch stores selling your big brands, Audemars Piguet, you have Rolex, you have Philippe Patek, for example. You also have perfume shops. You have an abundance of galleries selling fantastic artwork from a lot of the acclaimed local artists. And then you have an abundance of restaurants, really good restaurants in Hyde Park Corner Mall, cafes as well. So it's very much a destination place. As I mentioned, you meet someone for lunch and you don't even end up shopping. You just have lunch, people watch, and then you can leave. And it's very different to Sandton in that Sandton's more your casual mall in that it's much bigger, different demographic goes there. Everyone pretty much goes to Sandton, but Sandton's somewhere where you could go in to buy your groceries, get your nails done, and you leave. Whereas Hyde Park Corner is not like that at all. You go there because it's an occasion. You typically dress up. People do dress up, as I mentioned earlier, and you go there and have a good time and enjoy the facilities there. There are 4 brands I'd like to really focus on that stood out to me in Hyde Park for a number of reasons. The first brand, I'm going to focus on the first 2 being the Western brands. One is a French brand, Longchamp, and the second is an iconic British brand, Paul Smith. What really stood out about both of these brands is they're also in Sandton City Mall. But looking at Paul Smith, for example, their selection of clothing items in Sandton City is very different to what they have in Hyde Park. Hyde Park is more your wealthy, your elite, your old money, older crowd who typically want styles, brands that are very much under the radar. Whereas the collection of items that you find in Sandton City is louder, bolder. Paul Smith is one of the most iconic British brands. They're focused very much on classic styles but with a modern twist. They put a lot of emphasis on the details, the quality of the materials, the craftsmanship of their work, and they're legendary for their use of patterns, bold, busy, crazy patterns, and of course their signature multicolored stripes. And they have quite a number of the different lines that come under Paul Smith. South Africa is now moneyed and sophisticated enough to have an audience for the different lines that Paul Smith cater for, from the fusion, the lower end, all the way through to their black label at the top end of the market. And I just think it's a great addition to the South African market because Africa as a whole actually is all about color. In Africa, when you're out and about, you see people dress in color, big, bold, popping colors. You rarely see, for example, what you see in Europe, specifically in the United Kingdom, where people tend to wear the darker colors, your blacks, your charcoals, your browns. Africa, it's all about the color. So Paul Smith is a great addition in terms of the color, the different styles, but of course the quality that they're bringing into the market. The second is Longchamp, and I have one of my subscribers from Zurich who asked me to talk about Longchamp, and I mentioned I would talk about it in the South African video, but I've changed my mind because I feel Longchamp deserves its own video. I put it alongside Bali, brands that are very much under the radar. People are sleeping on the quality. When I saw Longchamp in South Africa, I was ecstatic. It was actually the highlight of my trip because to me, Longchamp is a fantastic brand for South Africa. I met a number of people who would say, I can't quite afford Louis Vuitton, Gucci, for example, but I like quality, I want quality, I appreciate quality. Longchamp is a great brand for that. It's affordable, it's within the affordable level of luxury, so bags are typically priced from about 250, 300 pounds through to about 900, 950 pounds. I'll include the South African exchange rate down below. And it's a great entry point for the South African market. The price point, the quality you're getting, it's one of the best brands within affordable level of luxury. And the fact that they're going into South Africa, they're taking advantage of being a first mover and going into a market with a solid product that'll do well because it is a good product. And I just think South Africa doesn't appreciate just how good a product Longchamp is and for the price. And so I would like to do a separate video, which I'll do over the next couple of weeks, and I'll include the link above once it's been recorded. And then the final two brands I want to highlight in this video are South African brands, and I want to highlight them more so because one of my subscribers, Frida, specifically said to me, can you zone in more on African and Middle Eastern luxury brands? I don't know any Middle Eastern brands as yet, but I'm doing a lot of research. But I have another two African brands in addition to the handbag brand from I think it was last year, which I'll attach above. The first brand is a women's wear brand stroke a lifestyle concept. It's Tiaan Nagel. Tiaan Nagel is a fashion designer himself, and Tiaan Nagel is a women's fashion brand. It's a directional brand. So directional, think of along the lines of Casely Hayford that I spoke about when I was on Mount Street. I'm going to attach the video above. And directional designers are brands like Comme des Garçons, Maison Margiela, Izzy Miyake, brands that are responsible for the pace and the tone of the industry in terms of the styles, what's hip, what's trending, what everyone is pretty much copying, or which direction are they going towards. They are influenced by the directional brands. And Tiaan Nagel is coming in as a directional brand in South Africa. A solid brand, is focused very much on fluid designs, very gentle details, use of a lot of natural colors. And the pieces are made from dead stock. So think of another brand I've mentioned before, Vivier's Fashion, very high quality materials. They recycle them and make them into new products. And Tiaan also uses materials from Italy and India, very high quality materials, which he then creates into spectacular pieces. And the emphasis is very much on producing pieces that transcend seasons. They can be used for different seasons. So it's not just for winter or summer, but you can wear them all year round. In addition to the women's wear, he also has, in the store, it's more a lifestyle concept store. So think of, for example, in the United Kingdom, walking into Hermes or Giorgio Armani, for example, where you have ready to wear, you also have homeware, you have gifts, you have ceramics, you have a whole mix of different things. Exact same concept, and the brands have all been carefully chosen by Tiaan to work with his whole look and feel. So he has ceramic brands, handbag brands, he has brands that produce curios, artwork, gifts, for example, a whole selection in there. And the store has been designed by Tonic Design, one of the foremost interior designers and furniture practices in South Africa. And they've created a store that has the look and feel of a home. So you come in, it's very relaxed. You're at home, you're amongst people you know and love, they look after you, you try the women's wear, there's also other things to buy, and then you leave. But it's just that whole relaxed, easy feel and look about the place. Before I talk about my second and final African brand, I've just realized I forgot to add a number of other brands stocked within Hyde Park Corner Mall. At the beginning, when I was going through the list of different brands housed in the mall, I'd like to also throw into that equation Jo Malone, L'Occitane, two brands I've spoken about before, Wolford and also Le Creuset, Jacquardi, that's focused on baby and children's clothing. There's a La Perla store, but it stocks a number of other lingerie brands in addition to La Perla, Mont Blanc, Emporio Armani. There's a Burberry store with a fairly sizable selection, a huge selection of their range of products. So it's not just a few bits here and there, it's a massive store. And there's also another store called Luminance, and Luminance stocks a number of premium core brands. They have a sizable, incredibly impressive actually, selection of Jimmy Choo shoes. They also have in their Tod's, and they have a wide range of Versace clothing. Moving on to my final African brand. It's a premium luxe denim brand called Tshepo Jeans, eponymously named after the founder of the brand, Tshepo Motlantla. It was founded in 2015. It's a fantastic brand, and I literally almost missed Tshepo Jeans. As I was walking past the brand, I was trying to get around Hyde Park very quickly. My eye caught the name, and I thought the last time I was here, I didn't see Tshepo in Hyde Park Corner Mall. What is it? And I went and discovered it was a denim brand. And they also have another store in a place called Victoria Yard. And I thought, let me go over to Victoria Yard the next day, spend a quick 20 minutes because they also have a workshop there. Then I'll at least be able to buy a pair of jeans and typically get them altered. I have fairly short legs, so I've never been able to buy jeans and they don't have to be altered. So I thought I'd use that as an excuse to go there. But I ended up spending an hour, but it was an hour very well spent. What I particularly like about Tshepo Jeans is it's a brand that's bringing the bespoke element to the premium luxe sector. Most of the well-known brands within your premium luxe denim sector are focused just on ready-to-wear. They don't do bespoke jeans, but Tshepo are bringing in ready-to-wear and bespoke jeans for men and women. And their bespoke jeans are offering significantly better quality in comparison to what some of the premium brands are offering, particularly the ones at the top end of the market. Based on my own experience, I would place Tshepo Jeans considerably ahead brands like J Brand, Page and Frame. I would put Tshepo Jeans alongside Citizens of Humanity. And then I would put them just a little behind AG, Gold Sign, and also Rag and Bone. This is in terms of the quality, the fit, the comfort, the wear and tear. The brands I've mentioned, I've had experience with them. And when I think, for example, of J Brand, the brand I've had the worst experience in terms of the quality of their material was incredibly poor. And the jeans literally tore fourth or fifth wear later. And when I think of my experience with the jeans that I bought from Tshepo, it's been absolutely fantastic. And I look forward to seeing how they wear over the years. I've worn them a handful of times and typically for the whole day. So I've got to really feel the jeans and see how they perform. I bought a pair of ready-to-wear jeans from a range called Royal. And I'd have wanted to have bought a bespoke pair, but I just didn't have the time. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to turn around, and I didn't want to rush through the whole process because I wanted to be able to go back and get the fitting done and so forth. So hopefully another time when my schedule is a little more forgiving, I'll be able to try the bespoke jeans from Tshepo. But what I really like is Tshepo are bringing in a product that's just good, honest quality. They can't compete with brands such as AG, Gold, J Brand, for example. When it comes to brand recognition, it comes to the prestige associated with the brands, the considerably larger marketing budgets that they have. But they're coming in and just offering good, honest, solid quality at a much better price than what the premium brands are charging. So for example, two ranges, they produce ready-to-wear, they produce bespoke. Ready-to-wear, they start from about 1,650 rands, which is 80 pounds, or the equivalent of about $100. J Brand, Page, for example, their jeans in the United Kingdom start from about 180, 200 pounds. So you're looking 250, $300, whereas Tshepo jeans are coming in at 80 pounds, and they're offering a much better quality product all around in terms of the denim that's used and also the craftsmanship. On the bespoke side, their jeans are priced, they start from 7,000 rands, which is 350 pounds, or the equivalent of about $415. Top end of the market with brands like Gold Sign, AG, for example, they're around the 300 pound mark and above. And then you also have another brand called Tue Mon Trésor, Japanese brand, and they use what is called Japanese hybrid denim. But Tshepo on the bespoke side are using the very best quality denim there is. It's a style of denim called salvage denim. It's produced on what are called old shuttle looms. So it's hand operated. So each pair of jeans is unique. But what you end up with, the denim that's woven on the old shuttle looms, is a denim that's a tighter weave. The denim is a little stiffer, but it's a lot more durable than the mass-produced denim that your premium core brands typically use. And you also end up with closed hems on the jeans. So the hems are stitched off, so they don't fray and they don't unravel. What's particularly interesting about Tshepo jeans is the cotton they use is from Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is one of the best cotton producers in the world. And cotton is very similar to wine in that it's all about the environment it's grown in, the terroir. So it's about the soil, it's about the climate. And the cotton is also hand-picked, sent to a place called Kojima in Japan, where it's woven into salvage denim and then brought back to South Africa and produced into bespoke denim. The ready-to-wear denim, they use material that's locally sourced or sourced from Mauritius, and then the jeans are made either in Mauritius, like my particular pair, or in South Africa. But something worth bearing in mind when you're buying jeans at the top end is with Tshepo Jeans, you are buying salvage denim, the very best quality. The nearest competitor that I mentioned a few minutes ago, Tiaan Nagel, also Japanese made, same price, but they're not using salvage denim, they're using a hybrid type of denim, so it's still not the best. You're getting Tshepo Jeans at 350 pounds, 415 US, using the very best quality denim, and it's a product that's made entirely for you. The jeans are molded to your body. You get the exact style you would like, and at the same price as brands such as Gold Sign, AG, for example. And they are using what's called your more mass-produced denim, and that's made on what are called projectile looms. They have the capacity to make large quantities of denim, but the denim is inferior quality to the salvage denim. What you're paying with brands like AG, with Gold Sign, is the denim is good, it'll last, it's better quality than J Brand or Page, for example. But you are paying for the branding, you're paying for that little tag that says AG, Gold Sign, for example. Whereas with Tshepo, they don't have anything to prove. They don't have the big marketing budget. People don't know them. They're just coming in with a product that's just good, honest, solid quality. I bought a pair of the ready-to-wear jeans from a line called Royal. They are fitted jeans, and I like the jeans because the waist is slightly smaller and they have made an additional allowance for the hips. Typical South African physique is smaller waist, fuller hips. So the waist is smaller and it means it doesn't gape at the back. It just, the jeans literally hug my curves. And I like the way they bring me in, and I don't feel as if the jeans are bursting at the seams. You also see the three women in his life heavily influencing the jeans. You have the crown, they represent the peaks, as I mentioned before. You also see an inscription that's made to them in the denim as well. And then on the front, where the zip is, you open and there's a message, and it says, a phrase rather, and it says Imbokodo. Imbokodo in Zulu means rock. The jeans, as the brand tell me, are meant to be a rock. They're solid jeans, they empower women. But I feel it's a little deeper than that, that the three women are Tshepo's rocks. They have made him into the man he is, and he's now able to wear the crown with absolute poise, with confidence and authority. It's a fantastic brand, and I'm really happy to see it, and I hope it's a brand that does well, that continues to grow from strength to strength. They ship globally. They have a ready-to-wear line that I would say to people, consider. If you're fanatical about denim, you want well-made jeans that are comfortable at a fraction of the price of your premium brands, then take a look at Tshepo. I'm going to also include the link to their website down below. But that's 4 brands I wanted to talk about in Hyde Park Corner Mall. Any other questions, as always, let me know in the comments down below. But please do subscribe so you don't miss out when I talk about Santon City and also Mall of Africa in a few weeks' time.